Alright, good afternoon YouTube. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the Power Hypertrophy Adaptive Training Program. This is a program written by Layne Norton, who is someone who I do respect in the space of exercise science, fitness science. I think he has a degree in nutrition, but he's very much a well-accomplished lifter. So powerlifting, I believe he competed in that. He has developed a very impressive physique, and he's also, while at times I think the word is abrasive, because like he is very quick to call out misinformation, which is good. But he also has like a personality that might not be the most like it's not a personality that's going to make you popular, but at the same time he's not, in my estimation, he's no charlatan by any means. He's very honest, and his information has great value. God damn. Anyway, so yeah, he is someone very much worth respect. That, however, does not mean his programming is perfect, and also we have different views on certain things. So perfection is always going to be something that's a bit subjective, and that's fine. But when it comes to the ideas of power building and what I think is actually going to be the most productive for that pursuit, there are some things that I do want to point out with this program, which, spoiler alert, is actually pretty good. So I did the fat burn program review, and I don't think I was very impressed with that one. I think it wasn't horrible, but I have to actually like remember what I said about that one. But this one, there's definitely more good than there is bad. So this program, it's an intermediate program to begin with. Like, so sorry, forgot I had that on. So I just silenced it, by the way. So it is a intermediate program. It is intermediate to advanced. I think in the Lifts Vault page that I was looking at, it said that if you are not comfortable with, I guess, being identified as a intermediate or advanced lifter, to run something like a Candido beginner program instead, as somewhat of the precursor to this exercise, or the predecessor, right? Predecessor to this program. And I think that's pretty fair. I think when it comes to power building, most of your lifting career, especially like for most people who have been training for a while, like you're going to be intermediate for quite a long time. It takes a bit to actually break into that advanced phase. So like as far as like your training life goes, being an intermediate is going to basically consume most of it. So having this base that you build with something like a beginner program, or basically starting with a program and then adding to that program over time, is going to be very beneficial to you. So let's get into this actual program. So it is a 5-day program, or 5-day split, and it is a upper lower push pull leg. So I know it says push pull leg, but I think in the actual program itself it's more like a pull push leg, and I'll get into that, my opinions on that in a bit. But I do like how it is an upper lower push pull leg kind of program. When it comes to 5 days a week of training, I think that's a very good way to manage volume, intensity, and recovery, because that's really all a program is. How do I make sure I'm training my muscles frequently enough? How do I make sure I'm getting enough volume to certain muscles and movements? And how do I make sure that I'm recovering enough throughout the week to actually facilitate maximum gains, or making sure that my workouts don't impede one another? That is the purpose of a program, and this program I think does it pretty well. But there are some things that I would like to see added that would actually make this a lot better. So the first thing is the fact that these workouts are pretty long, and that's not, in and of itself, it's not a bad thing. The only reason why I say I add it in as a critique is mainly because I don't think you need to be in the gym for this long. I think that there are ways to get the same amount of work done in a shorter amount of time, and be working your level of fitness as well as your strength and hypertrophy. So this is the upper body power day. Okay, so one moment, if please. So let me put that there. Okay, so this is the upper body power day. So it's opening up with the bench press, and I think that is beautiful. That is wonderful. I think it is very. I only find this every now and then when it comes to programs, but I mean, Layne Norton, like I said, he's a smart guy, so he knows how to train and how to program. So he opens it up with the bench press. There are some programs I reviewed where they open up with an isolation exercise. It's fine to include that in a warm up, but For the actual first exercise of the day, the thing you're going to push progression on, you want that to be a compound movement, and here that is the case. It is a horizontal push movement, and it is generally what is considered the upper body movement. That's like, you know, how much do you bench, bro? How strong are you on the bench? You know, like when we ask about like upper body strength, we usually talk about it in terms of the bench press. 3 sets of 3 to 5. So I really like how in this program it's rep ranges. I think rep ranges truly, like, I've been using them for quite a while. I never, like, it wasn't until fairly recently that I kind of put it into words why. Namely because like the influence of natural hypertrophy, you know, the idea of evolving rep ranges, the naming of evolving rep ranges. But in my programs, I've always included a rep range, and I just always thought to myself with that mentality of, if I can do more than 5 reps, it's too light. If I can't do at least 3 reps, it's too heavy. So that was kind of like the training mentality that I had with every single exercise. I want to do a weight where I can do X amount of reps, and it's perfectly fine to do so. So but here is kind of where the issues begin. So 3 sets of 3 to 5, that's 9 to 15 reps. One thing that I would like to see, me personally, is that the bench press and the pull up just be supersetted. Reason being, for me, I'm going to make a video about this, but it's like supersets need to be convenient. If you were to do the bench press followed by a horizontal row, then you would, chances are, if you are working in a commercial gym, then you would need to use the same barbell. And that could be good because that means you're doing a 1-to-1 ratio between the strength of your pull and the strength of your push. However, you know, getting it out of the bench press position, getting it out of the rack for the bench press, and then doing it into a row is fairly inconvenient because the bench is now in the way. You're getting in this really awkward position. Getting it out of the rack is inconvenient. So can you do it? Yeah, sure. But generally speaking, when it comes to training, I like to have it flow seamlessly. So that's why I think pull-ups after a bench press makes a lot of sense, because I lift in a gym where there's no dedicated bench press. So it is a power rack, you roll a bench up to it, and then there's pull-up bars right above you. So it's just kind of set up for it to be that way. So I like to just do my pull-ups and my bench press supersetted with one another. Same thing with the overhead press, because I'm just right there. That would allow you to do 3 sets of, so it has 6 to 10 here. So that's like 20 plus reps. So that means you can do 3 sets of 4 to 8. So that way you're not pushing failure so much on these movements, but you're able to get the same amount of volume, if not more, same amount of tonnage, if not more, because you're now adding that 3rd set and bringing the reps down slightly. So that's something I would do. Then he has a horizontal row and weighted dips. So this I really like. However, one thing I'm noticing is just, why are there 2? So rowing is a very important part of training. It is something that I prioritized heavily when I first started working out, and I have reaped the benefits ever since. So there's a video by Brian Alsruhe, just kidding. Brian Alsruhe, like it's just an inside joke that me and my friends have about his name. But anyway, where he makes an argument for the bent over row and how every single row variation that you can think of, you should be including into your program. And I 100% agree. The back is a very resilient muscle. You can definitely do some form of rowing every single day. You can't do the same exact one, but you're definitely more than able to do any type of row any day of the training week. So supersetting rows and dips is something that I 100% agree with. The sets, 2 sets of 6 to 10, because they're equal, and if they were supersetted, that's fine. But you can do like an evolving set range here too, whereas like, let's say 2 to 4 sets of 6 to 10, 8 to 12, or however many you want. 6 to 10 is just fine. And then Penley Rows. So Penley Rows, like I said, it's kind of redundant because you already have a horizontal row here, meaning the Penley Rows can actually take this spot here. Now, the reason why I guess it's included is the fact that he's using it as a power pulling movement, and I think that's great. But one thing I will say is that there's a pull day in this program, and depending on how the lower body day is done, or the leg day I should say is done, I think the Penlay row or a barbell row variation that is done for power pulling might actually be more beneficial on the pull day. That's just my opinion. But let's move on from there. Dumbbell shoulder press, 3 sets of 6 to 10, that's great. Cambered bar curls, dumbbell skull crushers. So one thing I would do personally is I would just superset all of this. Doing curls is not going to negatively affect your press. The skull crushers, you know, because the triceps are going to be involved in the press, then you could make the argument that it's not the best there, because the skull crushers are going to um, make the triceps a limiting factor in the shoulder press. So that's fair, but if that's the case, then I would just try to find some other superset to do with the shoulder press. So for me, when it comes to the shoulder press, I like doing something like an upright row, straight arm lat pull down, just a regular lat pull down if anything. So you could kind of like put the dumbbell shoulder press here, and then replace it with lat pull downs or more pull-ups. But overall, not bad. But yeah, just generally speaking, like, I would just want to see more supersets. Next, we have the lower body power day. So we have squats, and then we have hack squats. So this I really like, because you're doing your main strength work with the squat. If the squat is opening the workout, my apologies. And then for getting more volume, you're getting hack squats. Hack squats are great. So when it comes to the hack squat, one thing I will say is, like, I never understand which version of the hack squat they mean, because a hack squat is sometimes referring to doing a deadlift but with the bars behind you. That's called a hack squat. Sometimes I see there's like the hack squat machine, where you kind of have pads on your shoulders and you're going up and down. I've seen that called a hack squat. And then also, if you can mimic that with a Smith machine, and you can do a Smith machine hack squat where the bar is still on your back, your feet are out in front of you, angled out in front of you, and then you go down and you get a really deep stretch, range of motion. And I really like this exercise, and I've seen that called the hack squat. Now, I'm going to assume that he means the latter two options, meaning you have some type of pad, you're using a Smith machine, angled slightly out in front of you so that we can get a deeper range of motion, and you're doing that for hypertrophy work. The fact that it's 3 sets of the strength work and 2 sets of the size work, I think is more than appropriate. You can get away with 2 sets of more hypertrophy focused squatting because you already did 3 sets of heavy squatting. So hypertrophy exists in every rep range. You are building some amount of muscle in the 3 to 5 rep range when you're doing your heavy squats. And because they are so much heavier than you would be able to lift on a machine or a hack squat variation, generally speaking, in terms of how your body's actually handling the load, you're still getting a high amount of hypertrophy stimulus in the combination of the squats and hack squats. Leg extensions. I personally have not done a leg extension in years. I do not find this movement to really benefit anything. That's a very personal thing, because for me, I don't care about my leg size, I don't care about my leg definition. I wear pants, and even if I wear shorts, like, my quads still pop out enough where people know, like, damn, that guy got some big quads, and I'm fine with that. Most of my leg development, I rely on squatting and knee flexion exercises such as a leg press or hack squat or Smith machine squat, whatever you want to call it. And the leg extension, if you want to make the argument that doing the leg extension is really good for hypertrophy, then you are absolutely correct. If you want to make the argument that training the leg extension might help protect the knee, I might disagree with you on that. But generally speaking, the leg extension can have its place. But for me personally, in my kind of in my opinion, I just don't think you need it in your exercise. But I mean, you can make that argument with any exercise. You don't need any of these. But the leg extension, I think there's a much stronger argument against it than for it. If you really just want more quad development, then yeah, go ham. You know, if you really want more quad development, the leg extension is going to be perfect for you. But generally speaking, squats and hack squats are more than enough for anyone's leg needs or desires for the most part, in my opinion. Okay. Stiff-legged deadlifts and leg curls. So this is something I really like, and this is something that I think is super important, and it's something that I really feel every program needs. When you're trying to work the hamstring, the hamstring is a really big muscle. It is where most of the sides of your leg is. And here's the thing. There are fibers that insert mainly on the hip, or only on the hip, I think. I'm horrible with my anatomy, and I'm still kind of trying to educate myself on that better. But generally speaking, you want to have hamstring exercises that are more of a hip hinge, and you want to have hamstring exercises that are more of a knee extension, or I'm horrible with this as well, but essentially a leg curl, because it originates from the knee. So a Nordic hamstring curl, a machine hamstring curl, you want to have something like that because it hits the hamstring a lot very, very differently than how a hip hinge would, and you want to make sure you're attacking a muscle in every single angle that it possibly can be for full strength and development or hypertrophy development. So, including stiff-legged deadlifts and leg curls, very intelligent. Standing calf raise and seated calf raise. So here's where I would make some adjustments. So standing calf raise, you can do that on a hack squat, chances are, because if you're doing a hack squat on a machine, I 100% know that like you're on a platform, you can easily just do calf raises while you're there. So now you get so you're able to do that. Seated calf raise, chances are, if you're doing leg curls, the seated calf raise machine is not too far from you. If you are training in a commercial gym where they have a bunch of machines for the legs, chances are they're pretty close together because they like to be organized. Usually in that way, it's kind of strange to be in a gym where, like, let's say you have calves in one corner of the gym and then hamstrings on the other corner of the gym. Generally speaking, unless you're in a really, really weird gym, it's not like that. So you could easily do your leg curls and seated calf raises one after the other, and you'll be fine. So that's an adjustment I would make. One thing I would make an adjustment with too is for the calves, I would actually increase the set and rep range. I think 8 to 12 should be the minimum for calves. Reason being, even if you go really, really heavy on these movements, because the range of motion is so small, you can definitely do 8 to 12. You can do 10 to 15 and you're still pushing heavy, heavy weight. The amount of weight that you would need to do to truly justify doing 2 to 5, 3 to 6, 4 to 8, 6 to 10 reps would be pretty massive in my opinion. So there's that. So back and shoulders, HT. I'm pretty sure that means hypertrophy training. So speed pulling. So if you were doing speed pulls, right? For the purpose of developing speed, power, and explosiveness for the purpose of the deadlift, I think it's better to include something like a power clean, a hang power clean, or a speed deadlift. I don't think Penley Rows lend themselves to the purpose that it's trying to fulfill here, which is speed and power development for the deadlift. Generally speaking, I think rows are better for trying to develop the strength of the muscles involved, you know? So here, I would much rather see just doing Penley Rows as if, like, kind of like how it was meant here for power pulling, you know? Like, not speed pulling, but power, so strength. Because I think here he's using power as in power lifting, as in strength lifting. Or, I know strength, I think strength lifting is its own sport, but anyway. Then you have horizontal rows for volume, like, very nice. So, since he's doing 6 sets of 3, one thing you should keep in mind that if you are running this program, you're resting very small amounts of time between this. Like, you're not doing 6 sets of 3 with heavy weights, so you're taking very short rest times, usually doing something like a minute to a minute and a half. And then you do some hypertrophy work, so horizontal row. What I would do here, since you're doing Pendlay row, if you were to run this program as written, Pendlay row, bent over row, or you do Pendlay rows again, but now you're doing it for 3 sets of 8 to 12, followed by seated cable row. So, me personally, I like to alternate between like the planes of motion in which I'm pulling. So if I do a horizontal pull, my next pull is going to be a vertical one. If I do a vertical, I'll do a horizontal one. So here, what I would have done is, so pull downs are what's the word? So pull downs are here. I would move it up after the horizontal row to kind of give it a break. And let's see, so he has shoulders on this day, and that's good. One thing I like about this is that it's not too strict with the push-pull leg template, but I think there's still some adjustments that could be made. But generally speaking, yeah, after the horizontal rows, you can do something like you go into your shoulder press, superset it with close grip pull downs, then you go into upright rows and brace dumbbell rows, and then dumbbell lateral raises all as a superset, and you're good from there. Then you have your lower body hypertrophy day, which is very similar. It looks almost exactly the same, but there's a couple differences. Squats, speed squatting. So 6 sets of 3. Yeah, this is very conjugate-esque, very West Side-esque. And I have some mixed opinions about it because I made great gains on conjugate, but I can't necessarily equate speed work with why I was able to progress. Part of the reason why I think I was able to progress so much is because I did lighter technique work which allowed me to be more recovered. So when I went into my max effort sessions, it ended up making me stronger. And here's why I'm hesitant to say speed pulls are what's responsible for that, because I experimented. I essentially I went really extreme with a heavy day and a light day concept. So with my heavy day, you know, close to a max effort, and then on a light day, I was using like my deadlift is like 500 something, but I was using like close to just a plate, maybe somewhere between a 135 and 185 for really low reps, just technique work. And I didn't really focus on speed during those days either. Like I wasn't being explosive, I was just lifting it, you know, regular, slow, controlled, like how you usually would. And I found that that gave me a similar rate of progress, and for myself and for other people who I had tried the same protocol. So I'm not saying it's useless. I'm saying that it's something that you need to think critically about if you were to implement it into your program. Then you go into hack squats for the actual, I guess the pump, the hypertrophy portion of this training day, leg pressing. So yeah, there's two different types of calf raises. You can just superset these calf raises on the hack squat and on the leg press, and you'll be fine. You have two different types of leg curls. I think that's kind of excessive. I think a better way to do it is like on one day you do seated, on the other day you do lying. So that way you're able to get it from different angles. Then you have Romanian deadlift 8 to 12. It's just an okay rep range for the Romanian deadlift. Usually for the Romanian deadlift, I kind of prefer seeing it more so in the 6 to 10, but that's because I'm more of a hypertrophy, intensity kind of guy. But 8 to 12 is more than very, very good for the Romanian deadlift, especially since you're trying to control the eccentric on it. But I digress. So next we have chest and arms hypertrophy. So incline pressing. He's using the dumbbell press for speed pressing. I'm not totally sold on that. But what I do like is the fact that he's benching, but he's not using the same exact kind of benching multiple times throughout the week. So I do bench press twice a week, meaning I do a barbell flat bench 2 times a week. But that's just because my current goals at the moment essentially require it. My goals right now are a 405 bench, like for strength, but for let's say size or muscular endurance, I want to be able to hit 225 for 30 reps. Because I hit it for 16 on video, but I was able to hit it for 18 on another training day. I was really sad I didn't record that. But because I'm just so close to 20, I'm just thinking to myself, well, if 20 is looking more than possible, let me aim a little bit higher. So dumbbell pressing for speed pressing, I'm not entirely sold on, but the exercise selection I like. Incline dumbbell press, incline chest press. Sorry, my brain just committed suicide. I'm sorry. If you are doing an incline press, in my opinion, it's working. Like I'm sure he like is like one's a machine, one's a dumbbell. But here's the issue: the strength curve might be different, but the angle is exactly the same, and you're doing it like 3 sets each. Like if one was 2 sets, it kind of gets a pass, but even then, I would still kind of have my reservations on it. But this is good for hypertrophy, getting a pump, and I think the mindset would be like if you were doing like heavy dumbbell incline pressing, by the 3rd set you're taxed, but you still want to get more blood into the muscle, more work into the muscle in this angle. So what can you do? You go into a machine and then you go from there. I think from that point of view or from that logic, it might make sense, but not entirely sold on it, just because for me, whenever you do multiple exercises pressing in the same plane, you're always going to run into the risk of junk volume. So that's kind of like my concern here. That's something you want to keep in mind. So let's see. There's 3 different types of pressing, and there's 3 different types of curling. Surprise, surprise, what do you think I'm going to say? Superset these. Like incline dumbbell press, superset that with preacher curls. Incline chest press, superset that with dumbbell concentration curls. Incline cable flies. You're using the same incline bench. Superset your incline cable flies with spider curls, because you need an incline bench to do spider curls. So just superset that, save some time, cut down on this. Then you have cambered bar tricep extension, cable press downs with rope, and cable kickbacks. And I think the cable kickbacks personally can be kicked out, taken out of the program. I think kickbacks are I have some mixed feelings about them, but generally speaking, I just think there's better tricep exercises, mainly because for let's say safety or the health of the joint might not be the best movement, but it's not. I'm not gonna say it's horrible or useless because it definitely can be done. There's some big guys at my gym who like swear by them and can do them for heavy ass weights. So I've been like kind of experimenting with it, but it's something where me personally, and this is the thing, this is like an example of a personal choice. I don't think it works all that great for me. Now, for you, you might swear by it and it might be very, very good. So do it. But me personally, I when it comes to this exercise, I'm just gonna be like, well, try it out for yourself and see if it works. But I just don't like it. And I mean that can go with a lot of things. But anyway, so with the extensions, I mean, yeah. So one thing I will say, I like how he's not super strict with the whole push pull leg split, because generally speaking, on a push day, it just means it's a chest, shoulders, and tricep day. But here we have curls, and I think that's great. Generally speaking, curls go on pull days because biceps are involved in most pulling exercises. So like, oh, biceps, put it on a pull day, and yeah, that's fine. Here he is a bit kind of strict with the lower body day. One thing I would personally do is because there's a lot of rows in here, like put like one row variation here instead, and you'll be fine. Like for example, Romanian deadlifts. If you're doing this with dumbbells, do a superset of dumbbell Romanian deadlifts followed by dumbbell rows. I mean, to me, that makes sense. It allows you to cut down here, put it here where it still makes sense. Another thing is it's a pull leg push. Like he's like for that PPL part of the split, he's doing more like a pull leg push, and that's great. However, when it comes to this is why I don't like pull push legs or pull push legs, push pull legs, whatever. It's my least favorite template for the purpose of power building because if done properly, deadlifts should have their own day and they should be on a pull day. And legs should be more so a squat centric day and a deadlift variation thrown in for hypertrophy work or technique work. But here's the issue. If you were to do it that way, you have the pull day and then the leg day. Squats have a hip hinge component and deadlifts really tax the low back, and you don't want to go into a squat with a taxed low back. So that's not good. Then what about the other way around? You still run into that same problem because there's an element of the hip hinge and spinal compression with the squat. So when you go into your pull workout, you're now fatigued, especially since when you are in the deadlift, your quads need to work a lot. So generally speaking, you kind of have like a legs push pull or a pull push legs, so that way the push workout is kind of in between. And here, because it's an upper lower pull push legs, if you were to do it that way, it wouldn't be that bad because you have rest days before and after. Whereas in a traditional push pull legs, after the leg day, you go back into your pull and then you're met with that same problem. Or you can do an asynchronous split, and that just kind of throws everything out of whack if you kind of need more structure in your life, which I clearly do. But anyway, so that's kind of why, generally speaking, PPL, in whatever form, I'm not the biggest fan of. But here, it's more than fine because you do upper lower rest, push pull legs. And then you have another rest day before you go into an upper body day. And since you left off on you can make adjustments. Sorry, I just like was looking at the exercise exercise day rotation, but overall not bad because you do have those rest days in between. So the let's see. So how does progression work? So progression is just by weight. It seems that these sets and reps kind of go the same, and I think that's fine. I think weight is something you add when you can, but I don't think weight is something that you force feed. Generally speaking, especially for hypertrophy, because in strength training it kind of makes sense because you just kind of want to build up to it. You don't just want to be like going super heavy all the time. Like that's more so something with strength, but I also think that in bodybuilding, it doesn't make sense in bodybuilding, in my opinion, to go so far back just because you need to kind of build up to your build up to a certain peak. Like I don't think peaking is super necessary for bodybuilders. So having them actually take so many steps back from where they should be working is unnecessary for them. But I can make a whole video on that, so I will. But generally speaking, this program, I'm going to give it a B, just because, like I said, I think supersets would really help this out. I think exercise order would help this out. Oh, and one more thing. On the push day, so like the chest arms day, one thing I would like to see here is rear delt work. I think rear delt work on an upper body day or a push focus day should be included. For one, rear delts don't recover the same speed. They recover faster than other back muscles. And also, because you're doing so many different types of pressing to keep your shoulder healthy, it's just a good idea to balance it out with some form of rear delt work. Upright rows, face pulls, rear delt flies, whatever it may be. Especially if you're doing a incline cable fly, then you could easily do a like after your spider curls, or even before your spider curl, you do some type of rear delt fly. You're already in that position. It's not hard to superset these small movements or giant set these small movements, so include them. Those are the main things that I would change. But if to kind of recap this video, a couple things I do want to say: upper lower push pull legs is not bad because you have a rest day after, like, kind of separating the upper lower and the push pull leg portion, and then you have another rest day before you go back into the upper lower. So when it comes to 5-day splits, I think that's great. It uses an evolving rep range for the most part, 6 to 10, 3 to 5, 8 to 12, 12 to 15, 15 to 20. Like, there's an evolving rep range present in the program, and I really like that. I don't like straight sets. Not what's the not heterophobic or anything like that, but you want to have some variety, not for variety's sake or for fun, but more so it's like if you're really pushing yourself to get to, like, let's say an RPE 8 or 9 when you hit rep 12, your next set is probably going to suffer because you disturb baseline, and I think that should be the goal. If you can do 3 sets of 12, chances are you are using a weight that's too light. So that's kind of why I like rep ranges, because it gives you a target range. So you can, if you're hitting like, let's say 10, 9, 8, you're using a perfect weight because you couldn't hit 11 or 12, but even though your strength was somewhat dropping per set, you were still within that range where it was still relevant, and that's fine. So I like that it's using evolving rep ranges. There's a wide list of exercise variation. So this is one reason why most novice programs are pretty shit, is because if you go from a novice program into an intermediate program, look at everything else you now have to add. These are things that were completely absent, and then it's going to be very drastic to add this in, because adding in exercises adds in training volume, and it's something you need to increase over time. So when it comes to my novice programs, I include these types of accessories, so that way when they go into a program such as this, it's not super traumatic or drastic on the body. It is a fairly high volume program. I think, let's see, 3, 5, 7, 10. So yeah, about 15 to, I would say, 15 to 20 sets per workout. Not bad. Especially since I don't think he's having you go to failure so much, especially since you're training 70 to 80%. So that's good. That's good. Strength training present, because like here you have your bench and your squat. Oh, sorry. So yeah, if you're benching your squat, is there a deadlift day? Oh shit, there's not a deadlift day. So it's kind of weird to call this a power building program if there's not a deadlift day. But like I said, I would put the deadlifts on the pull day. So you do your upper lower, and then on your lower body day, it could be either squat centric or deadlift centric, depending on what you like. And then you have like the other day to kind of like make up for it. But generally speaking, I think for this program, most programs are pretty squat biased. So if we're going to keep it this way, lower body day is squat centric, but your pull day has you do your regular deadlift pull. But yeah, let's see from there. The fact that they include weighted pull-ups and weighted dips, I think this is beautiful. Too many programs disregard calisthenics, and the reason why I think they do this is because when people think calisthenics, they think those people doing flippies and dippies and whoopies and whatever, right? No. Like, for the power builder, for the bodybuilder, for the power lifter, calisthenics really just means the basic movements such as a pull-up, a dip, a push-up, inverted row, things like this. You don't need to get super gymnastic like or anything like that. doing these exercises are just more than enough. They're very simple. You can overload them. They take your muscles and your joints to a long range of motion, so that's a plus. And it allows you to make sure that you're always being able to move your body through space. You're not regressing in any type of way. I can bench a lot of weight, but I can also bench press. I can bench my let me get this right. I can bench press a lot of weight, but I can still do a lot of push-ups. I can still do dips. I'm a heavy guy, but I can still do pull-ups and dips. There's a lot of guys I know who weigh the exact same as me and can't do one. So they are, in my opinion, like kind of having their priorities just in the wrong places. You want to make sure that you're always able to move your body weight through space. But so those are some points for mostly the good, but yeah, just to recap the things I would personally change: more supersets, do more of a pull push legs, or let's do, I would have to think about this a bit more, but you would want to kind of set it up in a way where the deadlift gets its own day, in my opinion. Don't be too loyal with the push-pull leg split, so that way you do some rear delt, which is more of a pull muscle, on a push day just for shoulder health. And this is something that was mentioned more so in the, let's see, I think it was, so this was something more so mentioned on the actual like web page on Lift Vault with this program, which is that you deload 6 to 12 weeks, and that's a pretty good range for deloading. I think that's more than appropriate to deload after that amount of time. But he recommends that you do like 60% of the weights that you usually use. And I'm going to make a whole video on deloading, but generally speaking, when it comes to deloading, I am more in favor of dropping volume than I am dropping weight, because you don't want to lose the ability to lift that same amount of weight the next week. So what I do, let's say I'm doing 275 for my bench, and I do a total of, let's say, 10 reps as a top set on my training week. On my deload week, I'll only do 5. That's half the amount of volume, but I'm still making sure that I have the strength and ability to lift that weight, because I never want 225 to feel awkward in my hands, and I never want to go to that reacclimation phase of making things feel good again just because I took that week off or that week using lighter weights. I think it's good to drop fatigue, but I think there's better ways to go about it. If you have run a 4-day split, run a 3-day split and train a little bit more minimalistically. Those are more valid ways to deload, in my opinion, than just dropping weight. But those are the only critiques that I have for this program. Generally speaking, this program is very good. You would make a lot of gains on this program. Like I said, it's a B, but superset some more things, move some exercises around. But generally speaking, this is more than enough to be considered a good program and a good base to create a program from. That's it for this video. My name is not Burp. My name is Karel King, StanStrength.com. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you found this video useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.